So, China is known for having some incredibly densely populated areas, right? But what is the least densely populated area and oftentimes considered scariest place in all of China? We'll see this big open beige spot in the furthest western part of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the Taklamakan Desert, aka the most isolated and landlocked desert in the world. Nestled high up in the Tibetan Plateau between the Tian Shan and Kunlun mountain ranges. Its nickname is the Sea of Death, about 337,000 square kilometers of absolute pure desolation. They say once you go in, you do not come out because the entire thing is almost complete and utter sand dunes. It's super dry, but it's also super cold, especially in the wintertime. It snows a lot here, but the snow doesn't even hydrate the ground. It just quickly evaporates and doesn't even have time to seep into the ground. It's also kind of known as like the place where hope goes to die, because if you look at the outer rim of the desert on the mountain ranges, you'll notice there are kind of like small little rivers that try to penetrate the sand dunes, but then they just like go as far as they can, and then they just eventually give up in the middle of the sand and dry out. Like literally there's nowhere to go, so they just end up like dying in the desert. Only one river, the Hotan River, has been able to successfully traverse the entire desert north to south, at least seasonally when there's more water from the snowmelt from the mountains, therefore creating what I like to call the Angelina Jolie forehead vein effect. For the longest time, nobody dared to even traverse the sand dune part of the desert because it would be really stupid and nobody could hear you scream. In Silk Road times, people just went on the paths along the mountain ranges because, you know, there was water. And it wasn't until the 90s when China actually built the first highways to traverse the sand dunes north to south. And because the dunes are always shifting with the high winds in the area, every single road is required to have a wide barrier of desert shrubbery to help avoid the problem. And today, the only people that actually live, quote unquote, in the actual desert are the people that seasonally work at the oil drill sites or the gas stations on the road along the way. Therefore, making the Taklamakan Desert one of the only few places in China that has no permanent population. Anyway, if you're interested in visiting, your best options are probably flying to the cities of Hotan or Korla that are right on the edges of the desert. Just keep in mind you might need some special security permits from the Chinese government to see these areas.